Hey, what's up, family? This is Anthony with Real Talk and Revelation. I want to tell y'all something about a time in my life where I didn't have my own place, didn't have a place to call home, and at one point in time, I literally lived in my truck. Well, this story is like this, and this used to be my reality. Where in 2019, I had moved into a rooming house. And in this rooming house, the landlord at the time, he was only charging me $200 a month. And I was like, wow, like I thought that was like a major blessing. Like, wow, he only charging $200 a month. And so I moved into this rooming house, and that's when I really started to have like, I don't want to say a mental breakdown, but I definitely was going through mentally and spiritually where I was going through a tough season. And while I was there, I was saying to myself, and I was talking to God, and I said, wow, I said, God, I can't believe I'm in this situation. Because during that time, I had a lot of bills. My credit score wasn't good. And for the most part, I was just kind of just coasting along in life, not really so much concerned about my responsibilities. I was constantly doing things for others, and a lot of times I was overlooking the things that I needed to take care of for myself. I was overlooking those things. And so, yeah, in that rooming house, I had to get used to sharing a bathroom with strangers, um, dealing with different personalities because we all are different. We're not the same. Sharing a living room space, a kitchen area. Um, there was definitely some adjustments that I had to make during that time, but I learned about, what I'm saying, credit. And even though I had known a few things about credit score and how some things work, but I still really hadn't taken much time to really research some things. And during that time in my life, um, I started watching a lot of videos, and I noticed how that God was sending people across my path that was either a credit, they dealt with credit repair, or either they might have been a realtor, or even the landlord. He was sharing different things with me too, as far as him listening to different podcasts of people talking about, the credit and how it works and that system and everything. And so I was just learning so much while I was there in that rooming house that um, I had went through the time where I felt like my life was just, what I'm saying, just not in a good place. But at the same time, I noticed how that God was teaching me, like he was teaching me about myself, teaching me about, that you just can't just constantly just live life and just always just be living in the moment, but you literally need to think about the future. You know what I'm saying? What choices are you making now that can either help you go further and be better in the future, or either pull you back? And I did a little bit of both. But yeah, so just living in that rooming house, it taught me so much, and I'm grateful that I went through that experience. And I remember, I want to say in like either 2021, the landlord of that house, he said to all of us that was living there, he said, hey, he said, you all gonna have to find another place to live because I got this house up for sale and you all have 2 weeks to move out. And I'm like, man, this guy telling us like we only got 2 weeks, what I'm saying, to find another place to stay. And I'm like, wow, I couldn't believe it because I had plans, like during that time, from the time I moved in that rooming house in 2019, I was paying off bills. I had a little extra money, I was giving and helping people and stuff like that. But for the most part, like I had got a printout of my credit report, and I was just knocking bills out, different loans that I had, I was paying that off. Student loans, I was paying that off. And it was just, my life was just, it felt like I was starting to get my life back as opposed to seeming like I'm losing it. And Yeah, so when I got that news from the landlord that I only had 2 weeks to stay at that house, in my mind, I'm saying like, wow, this is messed up. But at the same time, I still had the hope and the dream of one day owning my own home. And so when I did move, I said, well, I said, God, I said, I said, I don't want to go back to, saying living in an apartment. I said, because I felt like, you know, even though I had an apartment and different things like that, I just felt like I just couldn't get out of that rat race of constantly living paycheck to paycheck and constantly things that just seemed like it was just piling up. And so that's when I had moved into my truck. I lived in my truck for a little while where I was parked out in at Woodman's. Y'all know about Woodman's? Woodman's grocery store. And I was out there living in my truck. I mean, some people they call it camping, but I definitely wasn't camping and living in my truck for pleasure. It was because I had a goal in mind, and I just was determined. I said, God, I said, no matter what I'm going through right now, I still believe that there was a home out there for me. And so living in that truck, um, some days I cried. You know, many times I was talking to myself, but and talking to God at the same time. Um, it was it was definitely very, very challenging. I can tell you that much because during the time where I lived in the truck, it was starting to go into the winter season, and I had went out to Walmart and I got these different fans, these heater fans, to put in my truck so that way I could stay warm. And I had me a sleeping bag, and I had got curtains, what I'm saying, so that way I can have like privacy in my truck. And so it was just a whole a whole experience that I ain't never experienced in my life. But when I look back at it now, I see how God was teaching me how to be grateful, teaching me how to be humble, teaching me how to, saying like be responsible. I couldn't continue just, keep running from my obligations, especially when it came to, my bills and everything. Like I basically I had stuff on my credit report that was old and different things where I had stuff and I didn't pay for it, and now I'm paying interest and all this stuff, and I was just constantly just living in that place of just, getting my paycheck and just, I would take care of some things, but then when it came to myself, or I say take care of others, and then when it came to myself, I wasn't doing what I needed to do, and so yeah, so for about I say almost 3 years, I basically was going from place to place, as far as being homeless. And um, like I said, it was a tough experience in my life during that time. But I'm so grateful that I went through that season because God just taught me how to really like lean on Him. And even though I didn't always, make the right choices even during that time, but for the most part, I started to get into the habit of, looking at my credit report, seeing what's on there, calling creditors and saying like, hey, I noticed that this is on my credit report. What do I need to do to get this off my credit report? So I'm learning these different things about, getting my credit report and getting my credit like where it can be good instead of bad. And so, like, I'm just glad that I experienced that in my life. And when I look back at it now, I'm just grateful that I finally woke up where I wasn't constantly running from my obligations, but I was actually facing it and I was hitting my obligations head on. Because sometimes in your life, you just can't just keep running and running from certain things that you know that you need to take care of and just think that it's just going to all pan out. And so, I'm grateful that I made it through that season. And now I'm actually in my own home, a place that I can say like, hey, my name is my name is on the title. I'm so grateful about that. And so I just want to encourage you all, for those of you that might be going through a tough time, that your life is not over. and that, whatever dreams you have, whatever goals you have, to just go ahead and pursue it. And even if it get tough, like, don't stop, keep going. And I think about this scripture where it talks about how that if you're faithful over a few things, that you can be ruler over much. And though I felt like my life had hit rock bottom, but now when I look back at it, I'm like, man, I'm like, God, like, you brought me through that season. Like, you took me to another level in life that even though I believe that I can reach it, but now I'm like literally living out what I saw in my mind, or what I envisioned in my heart. I'm literally living it out today. And so I'm just grateful for every challenge, every trial, because just because it might seem like that there is no light at the end of the tunnel, listen, sometimes you have to go through those dark seasons in order to get to the light, in order to get to that place where you see that, man, like, life is not always easy, but yet and still, if you're very focused and you just have it in your heart that, you know what, I'm going to keep pursuing and keep going after what it is that I believe that belongs to me, hey, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And so for those of you out there, hopefully you all are encouraged by this story, or you might be able to relate to this story. Either way, I just want to encourage you all to just never give up, keep going, and be sure to like and subscribe. And I'll see y'all on the next one.